Pierre Poilievre has been warning us about Mark Carnage. When he said that he's worse than Trudeau, that wasn't hyperbole. And I don't even think that Pierre knew how bad he really was. But now, we have yet another world leader who has decided to recklessly align themselves with a terrorist organization, all in the name of a misplaced radical leftist virtue. You know things have gotten bad when Hamas publicly welcomed Canada's recognition of Palestine, calling it an important step in affirming Palestinian rights. I'll say it again. A major terrorist network who publicly executes their own citizens to instill fear in them is thanking Canada. Today, I'm going to discuss how this connects to the new online hate bill, Sean Fraser's announcement of authoritarian-style hate crimes, and a liberal bill that would basically make all immigrant children in Canada Canadian citizens by default. Make sure you leave a like on the video to help me reach more people. Consider subscribing. It's totally free, unlike Palestine. Here's the official statement from Mark Carney. Statement by Prime Minister Carney on Canada's recognition of the state of Palestine. September 21st, 2025. Since 1947, it has been the policy of every Canadian government to support a two-state solution for lasting peace in the Middle East. This envisioned the creation of a sovereign, democratic, and viable state of Palestine, building its future in peace and security along the state of Israel. Over many decades, Canada's commitment to this goal was premised on the expectation that this outcome would be eventually achieved as part of a negotiated settlement. Regrettably, this possibility has been steadily and gravely eroded, including by the pervasive threat of Hamas terrorism to Israel and its people, culminating in the heinous attack of October 7th, 2023, and Hamas's long-standing violent rejection of Israel's right to exist in a two-state solution. I'll go down a little bit where he says, Hamas has terrorized the people of Israel and oppressed the people of Gaza, wreaking horrific suffering. It is imperative that Hamas release all hostages, fully disarm, and play no role in the future governance of Palestine. Hamas has stolen from the Palestinian people, cheated them out of their life and liberty, and can in no way dictate their future. Okay, you can say that all you want, but what you say and what's really happening over there are two different things. And how do you think Hamas responded to this news, even though Mark Carney seems to condemn them in this letter? Well, here's their official statement. Commenting on the recognition of the state of Palestine by Britain, Canada, and Australia, and the announcement by a number of countries of their intention to recognize the Palestinian state, we in the Islamic resistance movement, Hamas, affirm the following. This recognition is an important step in affirming the right of our Palestinian people to their land and holy sites, and to establish their independent state with Jerusalem as its capital. It is a reward for the struggle, steadfastness, and sacrifices of our people on the path to liberation and return. This important step must be accompanied by practical measures that lead to an immediate end to the brutal war of extermination against our Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, and to confront the annexation and Judaization projects in the West Bank and Jerusalem. We call on the international community, the United Nations, and its institutions to isolate this rogue entity, stop all forms of cooperation and coordination with it, escalate punitive measures against it, and work to bring its leaders, who are war criminals, before international courts and hold them accountable for their crimes against humanity. Are you starting to get the picture? Now, there has been some backlash against this. Melissa Lanceman chimed in with the following.
The Liberals in Canada officially recognized Palestinian statehood, ending over 75 years of established diplomatic convention with a single stroke of a pen. While people who wave terrorist flags and chant genocidal chants in our streets are surely celebrating right now, nobody else is celebrating. Not one bit. And let me tell you why. Almost 2 years ago, hundreds of innocent civilians, including Canadian citizens, were murdered, maimed, raped, and taken hostage by Hamas, a terrorist group in the deadliest day for the Jews since the end of the Holocaust. We know that some of these civilians remain in captivity today, left to pray for their rescue while they are subjected to starvation and torture, confinement on a daily basis. We hope that they will come home as soon as possible. And we know that others who were taken hostage will never come home, and they never came home because their lives were stolen during the imprisonment, and that Hamas refuses to return those bodies too. This is warfare of the most inhumane kind, perpetrated by the people our own government recognizes as enemies. Today, that government just gave those enemies the biggest gift that they could ever ask for. You see, there's a reason our country had a long-standing tradition to never negotiating with terrorists. It's because it encourages the very terrorist activities we should be opposing as a country. Already, Hamas is telling the world that this recognition of statehood is a vindication of what they did on October 7th, and that we should expect to see even more days like October 7th moving forward. Because of this decision by this Prime Minister and this government, our world is more unsafe, our country is less respected by our allies, and once again, a small but vocal minority here at home notches another win on behalf of the terrorists and the Jew haters. You already know that I'm going to hold the Prime Minister responsible alongside a strong, dedicated Conservative caucus. But history is also going to hold them accountable. It's going to show that when the chips were down and things got tough, the Prime Minister took the easy way out instead of standing with our allies. This is a betrayal of the hostages who remain in Gaza, the Canadian citizens who were killed on October 7th, and our basic Western values of freedom, justice, and the rule of law. We must choose courage over convenience, and I hope that someday we will have a Prime Minister who understands that. Today, we have a Prime Minister who chooses to reward terror, and we will never forget that.
Bibi Netanyahu said the following, and I'll just do a voiceover of the translation. A Palestinian state will not be established. The response to the recent attempt to impose a terror state in the heart of our land will be given after my return from the U.S. I have a clear message to those leaders who recognize a Palestinian state after the terrible massacre on October 7th. You are giving a huge reward to terror. And I have another message for you. It will not happen. A Palestinian state will not be established west of the Jordan River. For years, I have prevented the establishment of this terror state despite enormous pressures from both within and from outside. We did this with determination, and we did it with political wisdom. Moreover, we have double Jewish settlement in Judea and Samaria, and we will continue on this path. The response to the recent attempt to impose a terror state in the heart of our land will be given after my return from the United States. Wait, I don't lend much credence to this guy in the first place. I could really give a shit. I just want Canada to take care of our own and stop meddling in foreign affairs that have nothing to do with us. Pierre Poilievre wrote the following. Prime Minister Carney is recognizing the Hamas state in another effort to distract from his record of rampant crime, costs, debt, immigration, and job loss. As he distracts abroad, Conservatives are working at home. Our priority is to put Canada first, restoring stronger take-home pay, safer streets, and secure borders within a self-reliant country. Prime Minister Mark Carney's priority is creating a Hamas state that will reward terrorists for raping civilians, taking hostages, oppressing Palestinians, and launching a war. Conservatives will always stand for Israel's right to exist and defend itself, living next to a future, demilitarized, terror-free, democratic, and peaceful Palestinian state. Conservatives will focus on what is good for Canada because it's time to put our country first for a change. Yeah, that's exactly what we've all been saying. Well, the ones with common sense anyway. And what's interesting is the double standard because according to leftists, if Canadians express conservative values, then they're right-wing MAGA and problematic for Western civilization. But when it comes to terrorists executing people, sure, no problem. Let them live. So does it start to make sense now? Like the online hate bill that's going to prevent people from being able to speak their mind? And when Sean Fraser was talking about making hate itself a crime in Canada? Well, I believe that there are two major reasons for that. One, there has undoubtedly been a rise in hatred toward people from Middle Eastern descent. So the Carney Liberals are attempting to remove Canadians' ability to speak freely about issues related to ideological differences between Canadians and people from those areas. And then number two, the designation of terrorist flags and imagery as hate speech. So what does the official recognition of Palestine mean? Well, it means that entities related to Palestine could be considered jurisdictions and therefore not forms of terrorist groups. I know I sound like a conspiracy nut, but everything just seems to be falling into place a little too perfectly, especially when you take Liberal Bill C-3 into consideration. Conservative MP Roman Baber wrote the following. Liberal Bill C-3 will offer an easy way for foreign children of Canadians who themselves weren't born in Canada obtain Canadian citizenship. See my defense of our precious passport.
And holding Canadian citizenship is a remarkable privilege that should not be afforded loosely to anyone who wasn't born in Canada. The bill will confer Canadian citizenship on children of Canadian citizens who weren't born in Canada, not children born to Canadian-born Canadians living abroad. That's already law. But to children whose parents are Canadian but were not born in Canada, and their children, and their children's children, in perpetuity if they meet the substantial connection test. If a non-Canadian born Canadian demonstrates that they were only present in Canada for 3 years in total, not consecutively, their non-Canadian born children would also be eligible for Canadian citizenship.
Who knows what's going to become of this? But if you thought things were bad right now, they're about to get a whole lot worse. You already know that Canada recognizing Palestine as a state is pretty much zero grounds for any type of trade negotiation with the United States. And I don't know about you, I don't think that most Canadian values align with those from any Middle Eastern country. Thanks, Mark. You're really making Canadians proud. Your slogan shouldn't have been elbows up. It should have been hands up.